Daniel Carter's alarm rang every morning at 4:30 a.m., long before the sun even thought about rising. In the tiny apartment they shared, the sound felt too loud, but Daniel always turned it off quickly so it wouldn't wake his daughter. Lily slept curled up in her small bed, hugging the worn-out teddy bear Daniel had won for her at a street fair years ago, back when life felt simpler. Daniel watched her for a moment before getting ready for work, just to remind himself why he kept going even when his body felt tired and his heart felt heavy. He brushed his hair, put on his faded uniform, and quietly left for another long day at the Grand Orion Hotel, where he worked as a janitor. To the guests and most of the staff, Daniel was just part of the background. He cleaned floors, emptied trash, wiped fingerprints off shiny glass doors, and fixed small things no one else bothered with. People passed him without looking. Conversations stopped when managers walked by, and nobody asked him about his life. But Daniel didn't complain. He was grateful for the job, because it paid the rent and bought groceries and kept Lily in school. What no one knew was that years ago, Daniel had dreamed of being a chef. Not just any chef, but one who cooked food that made people feel warm and safe and loved. He had studied in culinary school, worked in small restaurants, and even won a few local cooking competitions. His wife, Emma, used to taste every dish and smile at him like he had created magic on a plate. Then Emma got sick. The medical bills came fast and never seemed to stop. Daniel sold his car, used up their savings, and quit his kitchen job to take care of her. By the time she passed away, Daniel was in debt, unemployed, and completely broken inside. When Lily asked where Mommy went, Daniel had to explain something no father is ever ready to explain. After that, Daniel took the first job he could find. It didn't matter that it was far from his dreams. All that mattered was survival. Every day followed the same pattern. Work, school pickup, homework, dinner, bedtime story. Sometimes Daniel felt like he was running on empty, but Lily's laughter filled the apartment with life. She never complained about their small home or simple meals. She just wanted her dad. One rainy evening, the hotel was hosting a massive corporate banquet. Business leaders, investors, and politicians filled the ballroom. The kitchen was under huge pressure and the staff was moving fast. Daniel was mopping near the service hallway when he heard shouting from inside the kitchen. A loud crash followed and then silence. A few minutes later, panicked cooks rushed out, whispering urgently. Daniel overheard that the head chef had slipped on spilled oil and injured his arm badly. He was being taken to the hospital. Without the head chef, the entire dinner service was about to collapse. The manager, Mr. Reynolds, was arguing with staff, his face pale with stress. Canceling the event would cost the hotel a fortune and destroy important relationships. Daniel stood nearby, holding his mop, listening. He hesitated. Then he took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I can help," he said quietly. Everyone turned toward him. Someone laughed nervously. "I used to be a chef," Daniel continued. "I can take over, at least until things calm down." Mr. Reynolds stared at him like he wasn't sure whether to be angry or desperate enough to believe him. "Can you really handle this?" the manager asked. Daniel nodded. "Yes, sir." There was no time to argue. Mr. Reynolds told the staff to let Daniel try. Daniel washed his hands, put on a spare chef's jacket, and walked into the kitchen like he was returning to a life he had buried years ago. His heart raced, but his hands remembered what to do. He organized stations, simplified dishes, adjusted cooking times, and kept everyone focused. Instead of panic, the kitchen slowly found rhythm again. Plates went out, guests began eating. Complaints turned into compliments. By the end of the night, people were praising the food, and business deals were going smoothly. After the event, Mr. Reynolds called Daniel to his office. "Why are you working as a janitor if you can cook like that?" he asked. Daniel told him everything. About Emma, about Lily, about how he took whatever job he could to survive. Mr. Reynolds leaned back in his chair. "Starting tomorrow, you're joining the kitchen. Assistant chef. Full benefits." Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. When Daniel told Lily, she hugged him so tightly he almost cried. "I told you you're amazing, Daddy," she said proudly. Life slowly started improving. The pay was better and Daniel felt alive again doing what he loved. But he never forgot where he came from, and he never treated anyone in the hotel like they were invisible. Then one night, while closing the kitchen, Daniel saw a homeless man outside the hotel, staring at the leftover food bins. Without thinking, Daniel packed warm meals and took them out. The man thanked him with tears in his eyes. That night, Daniel and Lily talked about helping others whenever they could. Weeks later, Lily's school announced a father-daughter cooking contest. Daniel hesitated, worried he didn't fit in among rich parents. But Lily insisted. They practiced together every night, laughing, making messes, tasting sauces. On the day of the contest, their dish impressed the judges, not just because it tasted good, but because it was filled with heart. They won first place. A local reporter covered the event and asked Daniel about his story. When she posted it online, people were shocked that a hotel janitor turned chef was raising a daughter, alone and helping others quietly. The story spread. Soon, people began visiting the hotel asking about Daniel. Investors approached him with offers. Mr. Reynolds encouraged him to dream bigger. With support, Daniel opened a small cafe near Lily's school. He named it Emma and Lily's Kitchen. The cafe became popular not because it was fancy, but because it felt like home. Daniel hired people who needed second chances, single parents, immigrants, anyone willing to work hard. Lily did homework in a corner booth after school, waving at customers like she owned the place. One evening, a man in an expensive suit came in and ordered quietly. After finishing his meal, he introduced himself as a food critic who had traveled the world. "This is one of the best meals I've had in years," he said. "Not because it's perfect, but because it's honest." Soon after, the cafe was featured in newspapers and food blogs. But Daniel never let success change him. Every night, he still made Lily dinner at home and asked about her day. One night, Lily asked, "Daddy, were you sad when Mommy went to heaven?" Daniel held her close. "Yes, baby, but loving you makes the sadness smaller." Years later, Lily stood on stage at her school graduation, giving a speech about her hero, her father, who never gave up, even when life knocked him down. Daniel sat in the crowd, tears in his eyes, remembering the days he cleaned floors before sunrise just to keep food on the table. He didn't become rich. He didn't become famous. But he became something far greater, a father who turned pain into strength and struggle into hope. And in the quiet moments when the cafe lights were off and the city was calm, Daniel would sometimes whisper a thank you to the past, not because it was kind, but because it taught him how strong love could be. Agar apchaho next step mainyi bi bana shakta hun.